I want everyone to be excited. I mean, you're spending your Saturday with us, so this is going to be some information that you will remember for the rest of your experience. So we are going to get excited, and this is going to be something that you can recommend to your friends that next time we do it, you're bringing your friends along to make sure that they listen. So I need you to go in the chat. We're going to do it a little bit up tempo to make sure that you're staying awake. I'm going to need you to pay full attention. So go in the chat if you have a question that today the thing I want to learn about money is X. So answer that question. Today the thing I want to learn about money is X. Put that X in there, or you don't have to type the whole statement. Today the thing I want to learn about money is X. If it's how to get rich, how to get a credit card, how to create savings, mine will be how to get rich, but I'm also the presenter. So today, what do you want to learn about money? So answer it in the chat. I will make sure that I keep my eye out on the chat. And whenever I'm speaking and you get an idea or you get something that you need clarified, don't don't unmute your mic. Just keep your mics on silent and type it in the chat so that you don't forget it. Just type it in the chat. Because we only have 30 minutes, we will have a bit of a tempo, and we'll have some question and answer period at the end where it's going to be a free for all. But if you have a question, before you forget it, type it in the chat. Somebody says savings and taxes. That's excellent because we'll have that covered. That is in the presentation. We have about 46 slides. So we're going to have a midterm and a final when this is done, okay? Somebody says budgeting. I think budgeting is the most underrated of all financial talents and skills, and we'll definitely cover that in the presentation. Finding a job, perfecting credit score, um, savings, budgeting, taxes. I consciously noticed that there's no mention of investment, but immediately somebody says to get to the bag or to get the bag. Forget to get to the bag. Get the bag. You want the big chikwama. Chikwama in in Malawian language is the big bag. So we'll talk about how wealth in Canada looks like, how Canadians, rich Canadians, how they've gotten there. We'll talk about how what you can do from your perspective. We'll empower each other to make sure that we maintain the energy to sustain the effort to get ahead in Canada. As you all know, we once we arrive here, we are learning so much so quickly that even the past 8, 9 months for you have been almost like a whirlwind. You have not really felt that all this information that is coming at you at the same time can be processed in such an easy manner. Today, what we will do is simplify that process. Simplify that process for you so that you know what to focus on, and you make sure that while you're going ahead, there are mistakes that you will not make because I made them, and I'll let you know not to make them. A little bit about myself. So I want to introduce myself. I have slides for this. Please allow me to share. The sharing feature is still not working. Okay. Yeah. Side hustles, real estate investments. Okay. Taxes and finding a job. There is the keeping a job part of finding a job. We'll talk about that as well. Being happy with it. Okay. Being happy. Awesome. Yeah. No. This is just working now. This is wonderful. Yes. Awesome. Okay. So this is great. Let me. You will all be my test subjects. Let me know if you can see. Oh, okay. Awesome. Can you see my screen, everyone? Okay, perfect. And how do I maintain the chat while I am presenting? or you can keep up with the chat. Okay. So yes, keep keep that commentary in the chat coming. I will make sure every once in a while I keep my eye out, or Nadine is gonna, you know, like do do a little highlight. So yeah, thank you so much for making it today. Taking a Saturday to learn and better yourself should be your approach as you enjoy the Canadian experience that you all will inevitably make a wonderful dream as you have dreamed about. I am my personal story is a beneficiary of WUSC. I came in 2008. I was able to complete my education. After completing my education, I went on to I went on to do my CPA, and after doing my CPA, I finished my insurance, and I did my investment certification. So, my education in financial matters is world class as far as Canada is concerned in the world. So, being able to spend an hour with you, you can ask as many questions and learn from what I have seen. I have advised everyone from single people, families, businesses that earn over $80 million and have done investments up to 17 million. So nothing is too small. There's no question too stupid. Make sure you leave today having your question answered and your curiosity satisfied. I've been doing this for 14 years. I'm on a new mission to make sure that Canadians get really good financial advice. And if you do not know, Canadians don't really get good financial advice. And that's a negative thing, but it's also a positive thing knowing that if you get good advice at the beginning, you're going to be you're going to get to your financial dream easier than Canadians who make real mistakes. Like, we'll talk about the mistakes, the credit cards, those take years out of your progress. So that's my mission, to make sure that every household in Canada has a budget and is not impacted by bad financial advice. Part of the goals is to make 1 million budgets in Canada. So I have a budget tool that I've created and a financial wellness score that I've created that we are spreading. Right now, the numbers are about 275. So we're still missing about 900,099 more, but that's the mission that I'm on. I'm well traveled. I travel often. I love to travel, but right now I'm grounded in Toronto, trying to make sure that this financial knowledge about empowerment and doing it yourself and finding financial wellness gets to everyone. Okay, so this is my professional evolution. I worked with a bank, two banks for the career for my career, 14 years. I joined an independent financial education organization now that does training to employees, training to self-employed people on how to manage your money. I'm also life insurance qualified, so I can advise you on how to insure for disability and stuff like that. For you at this rate, this is stuff that is going to come a little bit later. What we share together is an inspirational story. I know all of you have your own stories to tell. The odds of getting selected by WUSC and from when you're selected to actually making it here, it's something that is a story that is you can always stand on, and it's going to be one of the defining stories of your life. It inspires hope. Your families, I'm sure, have hope with the fact that you are selected, and that hope is the guiding light to where you're going. And that's the same story that I have, and that's the reason why I'm so excited to share this with you. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Part of the reasons why I dedicated myself to do this is to make sure that we tell our story into our finances. Sometimes we try to copy what everyone is doing, but we are not everyone. We're not raised the same, and we're not in the same category as they are. How they've been raised or what they have to support them is different. So, while I cannot see the chat, I want you to go and think about something from home that makes you feel at home and type it in the chat. I want to make sure that you're staying engaged and you stay dialed in. So I want you to type it in the chat, and let me see that chat kind of getting busy. So let me know something from home that makes you feel at home. And when you're in this Canadian story, the last thing you want to do is assimilate and be like everybody else. Your uniqueness is your superpower. Okay? And thank you. Somebody answered in the chat. Somebody asked, what did I study? So thank you for answering. Somebody say food. I want to know like the actual food, the name of it. Uwugali, like if you are into okra, like type something that brings you some good joy. But Baris, thank you. So that you have to that you have in Dagara. That, yeah, I know in Dagara, and that somebody put the meaning of it. Yes, please add the meaning of it because some of us don't speak the same language. Yeah, so you have to carry that story with you, and that is your superpower. So that's the reason why I emphasize that while you're pursuing that, instead of looking at it as just money, it's financial wellness. The money will get you to a point where you have peace of mind. You have freedom and independence where you get your time back and you don't have to work so much, and build a sustainable life where it's not just about money. You can enjoy your loved ones, you can enjoy family time. And this is the state of Canada right now. It's not just us. Every single Canadian is suffering right now. This is the financial burden that is existing right now in Canada. I see people are still typing food. Thank you, thank you. Make sure you keep that comfort and you hang on to your culture. Share it generously, but don't lose it for the sake of progress. That is a myth. So 70% of individuals in Canada are experiencing financial stress right now. And part of the reason why they're experiencing stress is the financial hardship that has come from eggs increasing in price, rice increasing in price. I know you guys know this very well. Every time you go shopping at the grocery store, it feels like you just did a luxury. So I focus on financial wellness to make sure that we are building a solid foundation and not just pursuing shiny objects, or like you want to get your Lamborghini, or you want to get whatever it is that you're pursuing that is not actually helping you. Financial security is very important because 60% of people worry about their security, as in they don't know if, let's say, at the job, if the paycheck was late, would they be able to make their bills for the month? Building your financial wellness will help you with this. Make sure that you are well prepared just in case emergencies come. Now, one of the things that I'll teach you is how to make a safety net, something that can protect you just in case at the job you get fired, or like the money that you anticipated to have you do not have. So that is a very important part of making sure you are well prepared. Part of getting rich is, or getting to the bag, is avoiding falling in the pitfalls of when life comes to test you, like being ready when life comes to test you. Okay, so once you leave here, there are three things you're going to live with. You're going to live with the confidence to know exactly that, okay, I am doing very well, or I'm doing not so well, but you will have the information to adjudicate that yourself. You'll be able to measure your progress. I'll let you know exactly what to measure. And you will be able to attract lenders because we'll talk about credit. And credit is the lifeblood of how people succeed in Canada. Credit history is the most important number other than your SIN number. All right, before we go there, this is the most topical thing for you. The power of graduating. Graduating is very important. I know you're going off campus and you're going to get jobs and you're going to work in the summer, and I do agree that that's very important. But you have to graduate. The reason why you have to graduate is you increase your earnings, it opens up different doors for opportunities, and it also sets you up for long-term stability. But the part that it actually does, more than all of these positive things, it limits the negative thing. Only 13% of people with university degrees are in what is called low-income family situations. And that's more of a government definition. But if you remove the degree, it's two times. 26 to 27% are in low income situations. And if you remove high school diploma, it's like 48% are in low income situations. So this is a part where you've already done high school, so kudos to you. But please graduate, get that degree, get that diploma, and that is your foundation for financial wellness. That's the first step of getting to the bag. That's the first step of getting to financial freedom. These are the things you should measure. This should give you confidence that if you get these four things right, you'll be making progress. The financial wellness score, I mentioned this earlier before, and I'll show it to you at the very end. I created this to make sure that it can tell you where you're missing in education, where you're missing things in the financial sector that most people will not tell you. So it looks like a credit score, but it's something I created. The disposable income, again, we'll talk about how to calculate this, but this is knowing how much money in your paycheck you should spend as opposed to what you should save. And sometimes, because of taxes and because of deductions, you might not even know that you're spending money that belongs to the government. One thing you'll know about the Canadian government, they want their money, and they want their money every single time you're getting paid. They want theirs first. So if you're spending the government's money, there will be a time where clawback comes in and they tell you you owe us money, and if you've owed the government money, then they'll add interest. The credit score, again, that's this credit history score. This is a score of how you pay your bills. And they know which bills you're paying and they know which bills you're not paying because most vendors provide information on how you're paying your bills monthly. This means if you're late, or if you're early, or if you never pay, or if you don't end up following up a good schedule, they will report this to your score, and your score will go down or up depending on how you're behaving in the market. Later on, that's very important when you're trying to get assets, which is how actually the bag is defined. I know we said getting to the bag, or getting rich. Rich is number of assets. And how you measure how rich you are is personal net worth. Net worth is the total assets minus total liabilities. Liabilities are debts or things you owe other people. Assets are things of value that you have. If you have an old car that has a loan of 10,000 but the car is worth 7,000, that's not an asset. That is a liability because it's the net. I hope that is stressed very well. If you have a question on that, please ask in the chat, and I will get to it in a later on presentation as we go through the Q&A. But that is how you calculate net worth. Okay. Put all your questions and comments in the chat. You have to understand this disposable income. This is very, very important because as soon as you receive a paycheck, and most of you will be getting jobs, and we'll talk about jobs a little bit later, once you get the job, there are things that need to come out. The taxes need to come out, and if they don't take them out, if your employer does not take out taxes out of your paycheck, you have to put that tax aside. You have to find a way to estimate it. There are free tools available. TurboTax has them. Other places have them. You can easily Google. If your taxes are being taken out, that's great. You don't have to worry about that. You'll sort that out when it's time to file. And then the CPP and EI. These are insurance programs that are run by the government to make sure that when people age or they get injured or they're later on in life, they can live a decent life because they were workers during the years that they had the strength. Okay, and this is important to know because if you spend more than your disposable income, you're already working in the negative. This starts accumulating debt, sending you to credit cards and other things that help you go backwards as opposed to the thing we were trying to do is go forward. So when you're saving, the average Canadian savings rate is about 5% of income. And that's too low. You should aim to save 15% of your income and automate it. Okay? Put that as an expense. Automated savings should be an expense. That if I make $100, I automatically save 15% of that. And part of the reason why I had to make sure that I slow down on this, the second part, which is financial gaslighting, is because in your thank you for the question. Somebody asked about what tax filing is. I will definitely get to that, and keep your questions coming. When it comes to financial gaslighting, I had to mention this because I want to give you the confidence to know whenever you're feeling that things are challenging and you tell somebody that things are challenging and they cannot understand why you think things are challenging, I want you to not question yourself. Most Canadians feel financial stress way before the Canadian government can acknowledge that there is financial stress. That's gaslighting, and it happens all the time. What I need you to know is that no one will care about your finances way more than you. So empower yourself. Okay? Empower yourself with the information on how to seek help. You don't have to memorize all of this, but empower yourself on how to seek help. And knowing that if you are able to do what you need to do after you seek help, save 10 to 15% of your income, do the right things on your disposable income, you're on your way to a financially well position where you can have peace of mind and a low stress existence. When it comes to increasing income, if you find that your disposable income is lower than you want it to be, you can add a side hustle. There are some internet-based side hustles that include adding value to somebody else's product, or adding a service, a low-level service or a high-level service. Some of you have experiences. I know when I came here, I was a Cisco certified networker, and I was able to do small jobs as an administrator, IT person. These things can help you add to your disposable income. However, I've got to warn you, once you go on the internet looking for a side hustle, there are so many scams that you have to be very, very, very diligent. Okay? Long term, the only way to increase income is, especially without giving up more time, is to make sure that you have assets that are making money. So if you have a house that you're renting out, or you have a stock portfolio that's making money, or you have a side business that is making money, in addition to the allocated 9 to 5, that's the way you can increase money without sacrificing more time. And the last one is very, very important for all of you, because as we come here as refugees, most of us have a different attitude towards power. So we never ask for a raise, or ask to get paid, or ask for a just due, because we're like happy to be here. That's going to cost you a lot of money in Canada. If you go around with that attitude of just happy to be here, it's going to cost you a lot. This is a more direct society, and it appreciates directness. If you go to the person that has hired you 6 months later and say, hey, listen, I've been doing a very good job compared to everyone else. Can we review what I've done and get a raise? That will be appreciated much more than you staying aside and saying, hey, listen, I'm going to work so hard, they recognize my efforts, and then they will increase my salary. You have to go ask for it. You have to avoid financial pitfalls. More than trying to get more money, avoid losing it. Okay? Beware of scams. Scams, I wish we could just do staying away from scams as the lesson. Somebody will come to you about a Bitcoin trading thing, a Forex trading thing. Even at home, somebody from home will say, hey, listen, send $5,000. I'm going to do this and this and that, and I'm going to multiply it by 10. All of you, I know, are going to be finishing first year and getting that lump sum of money that's remaining on your SRP, money. That money is not to start a get rich quick scam. Personally, to share a story with you, when I got that money from SRP, it was like 4,300 and something. I sent it home to buy a taxi and to do this and to do that, only to know after that I needed to have kept that money for my first and last deposit, for when I'm moving off campus. And then I ended up having to use my credit card. And having to use my credit card was the beginning of digging a big, big, big financial hole that I didn't even realize until it was 3 years later. So say no, take care of yourself first before you try to take care of everyone. I know people have a lot of expectations of you and you have expectations of yourself. But if it leads you to a get rich quick scam, somebody saying, I have a cash deal to, you know, do this and do that, the government's not even going to know. That, first of all, might be a scammer. Second, they might steal your identity. If they steal your identity and they go and start a credit card in your name, you cannot go and remove it. It's going to take a long, long, long time before they agree that, okay, you are a victim. If you are participating and you are not a victim, they're not going to remove it. That money is gone, and they might even steal the money that you have. So you've got to be very diligent. Do everything above board, and you're on your way to better things happening. Responsible spending. Spend what you can, what is in your budget. Don't fall for everyone saying, you know, peer pressure you into bad spending habits. If you cannot afford it, you cannot afford it. The funny part about how you're about to live your life in Canada is you will be touching the most money you have ever touched in your life. Like the idea of being at home and making $100 a day, it might sound like some sort of heavenly situation. You're going to make $100 a day very easily and very soon, and then you're going to see how quickly the $100 spends. If you don't have a good spending habit, lifestyle creep comes in. Instead of cooking, you start eating out. And the food outside is not even as good as the food you make. And if the food you make makes you happy and you make it less, you're less happy spending more. So the spending more does not equal more happiness. And once you get into credit card debt, you start messing with your credit card history. So you need to build a positive credit history to make sure that you're going through uh, your Canadian experience diligently and without bad habits that will make it impossible for you to get a house later on. Yeah, so these are the things that you should know. Red flags include somebody coming and saying they have something that is risk free, or buy it now, everyone's buying, over the top pitches, or people saying I'll file your taxes and get the most money from the government. The money you get from the government is limited to exactly what you paid and your tax credits, your net tax credits. No one can make the government give you more money. They might be trying to involve you in a scam. And if you hire them to do it and they do it on your behalf, you're also liable. So I know you're all excited, besides the fact that it's exam time. You're going to a nice question. Thank you for asking the question. I see your questions. Put all your questions in the chat. I definitely will get to every single one of them. No, there are no stupid questions. Now that you're transitioning to independent living outside of the university structure for those who are on campus, there's some things you need to be aware of. First of all, the rental deposit. So when you're renting, they require three things: your credit history, your employment, a recommendation, and rental deposit. First month and last month are paid at the same time. This can be a lot of money. If you're, let's say, going for a room with some roommates, let's say it's like two roommates paying $500 each. The two of you have to pay $2,000 ahead of time. So you need to save up for that rental deposit. And also consider your roommates wisely. Maximize your peace. Make sure you're comfortable. If you're not a person who's into partying or loud things, then do not choose roommates who are. If you're somebody who wants to work a lot more, make sure you're maximizing your comfort, but finding a place where you live next to the jobs that you're getting, because that you minimize how much commuting you can do. This is very important to set up ahead of time. So yeah, great question about side hustles versus scams. The line can be thin at some point. I'll get to that at some point as well. So understanding your taxes, you have the responsibility to file taxes. So filing taxes, this when the year ends, December 31st, all your earnings and how much money you spend earning it have to be put in one document called a tax return, and send the tax return to the government to know how much to tax you. This has to be done by April 30th every year. There is no change to that. And make sure that you have filed your taxes, because if you file your taxes late and you owe the government, they will increase taxes on your taxes. Sorry about that. Yes, they will put interest on your taxes every month. I believe it's 1%. And this one is a one that is not funny at all, but I'm sure some of your first experiences when you realize what HST is. HST is a tax for producers that has been passed on to consumers. This, what happens with HST is if you buy something for $100 and you go pay for it, all of a sudden it's $113.50. So that you have to understand. That's a tax that you need to budget in your budgetings. Okay, nice question. Recommendations for landlords. Yeah, I'll get to that. So there in Canada, one of the leading reasons why people look for financial advice is to how to navigate tax advantaged accounts. There are some accounts that if you put money in and you make 100,000, they will not tax that 100,000 until you take it out, or they'll never tax it. When it's time to file taxes, like April 30th is coming up, you will receive some summaries from your job or your school. Your school will give you files called T22s. These have your tuition credits. Your jobs will give you T4s. These have how much you made, how much you paid, and how much taxes was withheld. There's some free filing software that you can use. Most people start their tax filing journey using HR Block, but HR Block can be expensive even though the money is taken out of your return. So if you're not as confident, you can go to HR Block, but you can also go and look for a tax filing clinic. For students, it's very easy. You have 2 or 3 papers and your taxes are done. Do it before April 30th. Consequences of non-compliance. Penalties and fines. Like I said, they will fine you for owing them taxes and then add interest to those taxes. And one of the things that you have to understand is that you're part of the fabric of Canada. Without you paying taxes, healthcare is not possible, roads are not possible. And if you don't pay for a long time and you owe them a lot, they will garnish your wages. Garnishing your wages is going to your job. Before you get paid, they can hold that money. It's in extreme situations, but the government can do it, and they do it frequently to people who are offending in grave ways. Okay? So, you've been saving your 10 to 15%. The future of financial independence lies in making those 10-15% savings work for you. And the way they work for you is a concept called compounding. Part of coming to Canada and being close to the US is that you have access to financial and real estate markets that are the best in the world. They are so good that they beat inflation. I know you all come from high inflation countries where anything you invest in, as soon as the money drops, then the investment is gone. We are privileged to live in a place where if you invest properly, the compounding effect will give you a return that is better than inflation. On average, financial markets around Canada and USA earn about 8 or 7%. And the inflation is usually around 2 to 3%. So annually you're getting that 4%. And that 4% is a lot because it compounds on itself. And if you just do that without ever having to win $1 million, you can retire comfortably with your family without any qualms. So what I'm preaching here is patience. First thing you do is target that 10 to 15% as savings, and then you watch it grow. Now, those 10 or 15% can be put in a tax-free or a taxable account. This you need a financial advisor for, but the difference to help you understand is when you're growing your money in a tax-free account, you do not get taxed until you take it out. In a tax-free savings account specifically, you actually do not get taxed at all. There are some things beyond the scope of what I'm willing to discuss today that are to be considered when you're looking at those accounts, but I wanted to show you exactly how making $100,000 will get taxed in different situations. Okay, so you can see if it's interest income or employment income. Awesome. Great question on how to improve credit score. I'm getting directly to that in a minute. Keep asking those questions. I will make sure I get to every single person's question. If you win the lottery in Canada, unlike the US, you will not get taxed. I'm not encouraging you to pay to play the lottery, but I'm telling you, you will not get taxed. If you make money in a tax-free savings, you will not get taxed. If it's a real estate or a capital gain, you will only get taxed half. Employment, you get taxed fully. Employment gets taxed so high that it's the least efficient way to make money. But because we are all talented people selling our time for money, employment is the first thing we have to get right. Okay? So, this is a summary for you. Managing your finances, you need to avoid lifestyle creep. You need to prioritize needs over wants. And you need to establish a good credit history. Good credit will allow you to get really good rates, really good assets later on in your life. And I'll get to why you need that in a minute, but this is, if you are to take only one thing, this is what you need to take. Avoid lifestyle creep, prioritize needs over wants, establish good credit. Okay, so a budgeting plan. A budgeting plan is you take all your income, you take all your expenses, and then you create your savings goals, and then you can spend the rest however you want. Most people miss the third part. The savings goals and the expenses go together. Now, I know somebody asked on how to budget. Let me see if I can. Yeah, somebody asked how to budget. So I'm going to answer it here. I'll go back to the questions to call out exactly who asked for it, but thank you for the question. And obviously, this is a big reason. There are 4 very popular ways to budget. The only good one for you is the one that works, the one that you're willing to follow. If you're willing to follow it, that's the best one. I cannot choose for you which one is the best. So I'll go through them, but the general way to think about this is you're tracking your spending, knowing exactly where your money is going, and then from that money you're reducing things that are not necessary, they don't bring you happiness, or you bought them on a whim, and then you're trying to find out where you have advantage. You guys are students, you will find different shops that give you discounts and loyalty points. Use those for things that you need. Okay, how can someone start saving on a limited budget? That's an excellent question. Oh my God. I was waiting for that question. All right, so this is how you can do it. And it came right on time. We're going to look at 4 different ways, okay? So the first and most popular one is the 50-30-20 rule, okay? So this says spend 50% on necessity, 30% on debt repayment and other financial stuff, and 20% on savings. That's simple because you can just, whatever you make, you just divide that into 50-30-20. The envelope system. The envelope system is a system where when you get paid, you take out the cash and you put it in envelopes for different stuff. So this is for people who, if you have a problem managing spending on your credit card, and you want to go to cash to increase your discipline, the envelope system will work for you. The pay yourself first is the prioritizing savings even before expenses. So you make money before you even spend the money. You take away your savings, and then, oh, nice. Mary just said she's using 50-30-20 rule and it's working effectively. Amazing. The best budget is the one you can stick to. And that one is simple. It cuts through all the noise of like, what do you do first? The pay yourself first is, if your target is 15% savings, you take that 15%, and then, you know what? Whatever happens, happens, but you're not going to compromise on your savings. Zero-based saving is budgeting to make sure that every dollar has a place to go. Now, somebody on a limited budget should adopt zero-based budgeting. This is where every single dollar that comes in has a job. And you start with expenses you have to pay that are contractual. You go to savings, and then you go to things that bring you the most pleasure, all the way down to the very last dollar. That's called zero-based budgeting. It All this work for regular income. Regular income is really good. Now, some of you will have seasonal income, like in the summer. In the summer, you will go through a period where you're working so much that you will be. Somebody just said 50, I should redo the 50, 30, 20. I will definitely do that. And if you want me to expand on it, let me just. Okay. If you want me to expand on it, I can expand on it, but for the interest of time, let me tell you exactly what makes it different. So the 20% is for your savings. The 50% is for necessary household stuff. The 30% is for debt repayment and everything in between. Right? So 20% for savings, 50% for necessary household stuff, and let's say 30% is for living. So you got to fit your life in that 30%, which means whatever the 30% is, that's your life. You don't have to think about too much. And that's partially why it's effective, because that 20 is gone, that 50 is gone, and then all you have to do is budget yourself on 30. Shukri, was that good? Give me a thumbs up. Give me any emoji. Give me one of the emojis that are available. And if it's not, also give me a sign. We'll return to it. Now, a lot of people have asked about this, so let's really get into it. Building good credit and managing student loans. So most of you will have to get OSAP, right? When you get OSAP, after you graduate, you have about 6 months to start repayment. And when you're in repayment and you hit a hard time, instead of defaulting and not paying, you need to call the provider for OSAP and get into a student assistant plan that helps you make payments when you don't have good income. If you don't make that call and your loan is outstanding, what's going to happen is you are going to be in a position where you have now destroyed your credit because you've missed payments. So it goes against every single theory of building good credit to miss payments. So when you're establishing a good credit history, all you have to do is have a good management system of how you pay your bills. There are 5 factors that are involved in creating a credit history, and it is measured by TransUnion and Equifax on a scale of 300 to 850. It's very rare that somebody's at 300, but it's very rare that somebody's at 850 either. All you need to do is have a good enough credit score that shows that you pay your bills on time. When it says on time, it's actually on time. If your credit card is due on the 29th, you need to pay it on the 29th, or you have missed a payment. If you miss a payment, that shows that you're not good with money. Even if eventually you pay it, it doesn't matter. What you need to do is make the minimum payment at the right time. They will tell you what the minimum payment is on every single credit facility you do. The problem that I wanted to slow down on today is sometimes we take off phones, for example, and we don't. Does that system work for the same all Canadian? Yes. Okay, so I've got to go a little bit faster. What you need to know is that your phone is part of the credit system because you did not pay for it in advance. That's just now a loan. Okay? So whenever you're switching phones because maybe the bill got too high, you use the internet, If you leave that there, it's going to destroy your credit. My phone destroyed mine. I was coming from Malawi where we bought units, and I was like, they're never going to find me. So I went to another provider and got another phone. And eventually I had to pay it with interest, and I had a collections on my credit score. So you should aim to check your credit at least once a year. And the credit is important because you can borrow to buy a house, you can borrow to do your masters, and okay, so somebody, yes, I'll try to go and wrap up very quickly. And whenever you're doing some job opportunities, like if you're in finance, you cannot be in finance and have a bad credit score. Some people will check it and say, no, I cannot hire you to advise people when you clearly have a bad credit score. Oh, perfect. Somebody put the 50, 30, 20 in the chat. So please refer to that. And sometimes insurance rates will be higher for people with bad credit scores because that might show that your behavior is not great in the financial sense. So you're more difficult to insure. So these are the things that affect your credit score. Your payment history is the biggest one. You pay your bills on time, that's 35% of the score. Utilization, if you have a credit card and they give you $1,000 and you're using $1,000, that is something that will bring your score down. You want to be using around 30%. So if they give you $1,000, you use 300, you keep paying it off. Okay, the length of credit history, you're not in control of this. The first account that you open determine the length of your credit history. And new accounts, the newer the account, the less it gives the rating system on how to know what you're about. The fifth thing that is missing is called inquiries. So every time somebody looks you up, you say your landlord looks you up, a bank looks you up, a car service looks you up. If there are too many lookups, it reduces your credit as well. How do you improve your credit? You got to pay your bills on time. So somebody asked this question, so I'm getting back to you. You pay your bills on time, you're consistent, and if you don't have the money to pay it, you make arrangements or you pay the minimum payment. You reduce your utilization. Make sure that you don't have a lot of floating debt that is on your credit card. You make sure that you check it. About 30% of all credit scores have errors. So you want to check it every once a year to make sure there's no error on yours. 30% of credit scores have errors. So it might be not even your problem, but if you don't check it, somebody committed a fraud on your name, that will reduce your credit. And if you have the initial accounts, like the credit card that you were given or you got when you got in Canada, that will be your oldest account. And if that one is closed, that's actually going to be negative for you because all the other accounts will be newer than that. So you want the old accounts to stay on. And then, obviously, the more you participate in credit cards or car loans or personal loans, you mature in the credit history that they know exactly what you are about, and then you start getting your credit cards start to get additional credit, and you start to get lenders competing for you. Credit cards are not all bad. They have some good things, so I'll rush to them quickly. They have rewards, some have air miles, whatever, insurance, travel, protection, all that good stuff. Enhanced features, including zero liability. If somebody commits fraud on your credit card, all you have to do is prove that it had nothing to do with you, and you get a refund of whatever it is they spent. If you did that on your debit, it will be a different outcome. Luxury, when you're at the airport, don't support getting a credit card with annual fee just to obtain the luxuries. But hey, I'm not you, and I don't know how much level of comfort you love, so I'm not going to judge. Roadside assistance, if you ever have a car and it gets broken down on the highway and you have the credit card that has CAA, you're golden, okay? And this is how you do not miss a payment, okay? Set reminders on your phone when your payment is due, or schedule the payments to be taken automatically from your checking or savings account. And if you do that consistently, you will never miss a payment and your credit will just keep going up. Because you can understand every minute and every year that goes while you're paying your bills correctly, your credit keeps going up. All right. So this is how you manage credit cards. Credit card is a monster. Canadians are dealing with it every single day. Canadians who live here, who've been here, this is the part that they're missing. Okay? You have to assess your buying power and buy within your buying power, not because you have the money. If you look at the credit card and you say, oh, the credit card has $1,000, but your debit has no money, you do not have $1,000. You're at zero. This is the part where, for us who have worked in cash, we get mistaken. We start mistaking having that credit for cash. It is not cash, and it is not your money. And if you keep swiping and tapping, and you think it's a problem, similar to scrolling your phone at night, keep it away from you. Keep it at home when you're traveling. You can also go to your bank and reduce the interest on your card. If you have a 19.99% card, they can give you a 12.99% card. And if you're having a challenge paying it, you're already in that situation, then you need to talk to your bank and make sure that you let them know, I'm having a challenge paying it. Can you reduce it? Can you make some arrangement? Then these are some abuses that you see whenever people get credit cards. They borrow to invest or run a scheme or buy Bitcoin or like buy some quick asset. You carry a balance. Carrying a balance accrues interest. Every single time you don't pay it off every month, it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And then lifestyle inflation. Now you have $1,000 on your credit. You think you can go to Cancun and vacation and do all these fancy things with your friends, and that is abusing your credit cards. These are some tips you can use with you. You can take with you. Do not take cash advances from credit cards. They are expensive and never worth it. Okay. Sometimes they automatically increase your credit card. If you're somebody who struggles putting limits on your spending, keep your credit cards small. Okay, and always take advantage of rewards like cashback and stuff like that. Now, get into the bag. This is how you build wealth. In Canada, almost 40% of the wealth is in real estate. So real estate is very, 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 very important. And how do you get to real estate? Three things: credit score, down payment, and income. The credit score is the one you have to watch, because if you ruin that, you will not be able to get into a house when you're graduated. Down payment is 5% of whatever the house that you need for first-time home buyer. Income is going to come like as you get your skills up and your qualification. So what you need to watch here is that for 40% of wealth in Canada, the biggest part is getting a house. To get a house, you watch your credit, save for a down payment, do that 15%, 20%, and then keep increasing your income. The second investment is your career. So get started, get some Canadian experience. Volunteer if you have time. Get mentors, get sponsors, and get a support network. It is important to make sure that you're not ignoring the stuff that you did at home. If you are a mentor, if you are teaching something, if you're a weaver, whatever you did at home, try to translate it and not think that you're starting from zero. If you want to start from zero, that's fine as well. But it's going to be much better translating your experience into Canadian experience. All right. Now, when it comes down to the later part of your careers, then you're creating investments, and this you will need a financial planner for. But the three things you can start saving for right now is the ticket home. You guys know the expenses to go visit at home are very expensive on the ticket. The ticket is like $2,600 at least to go to Malawi. The down payment and an emergency fund. An emergency fund is a fund that has 3 to 6 months of your expenses. So these are the three things you should focus on. Save money for getting a ticket home so that you're not using your credit card, your down payment for 5% of your future house, and then an emergency fund. You can start with the emergency fund, go to the ticket home, and then the down payment. The most important thing is to cut out that 15 to 20% of your income. All right, so wrapping up, the thing you have to continuously do is commit to learning and developing your financial literacy acumen and know how to seek guidance, okay? The Financial Consumer Agency of Canada has some good resources. Even your local banker will give you some good advice if you go ask, okay? Some of the common issues when you're choosing a financial advisor, sometimes it's lack of continuity. You see people in the bank, they get promoted fast, and somebody you had a good connection with, maybe is somebody you understood from just you connecting with them, gets promoted out of the chair. Now you kind of feel like you're abandoned. Sometimes you go in there, there's a lot of product pushing. They're trying to get you another credit card. They're trying to get you another loan. They're trying to get you to buy this investment. And sometimes they also tell you, customer acquisition benefits, the things that they will give you if you sign up, but these things are not going to sustain. It's only 6 months. And then operational hours. Sometimes financial stress hits you at night and you can't sleep, but the bank is closed. Okay? So that is what you're going to run into when you're experiencing your Canadian system, Canadian financial system. So I'm going to go back into the questions and try to answer what I have not answered. I hope